StreamYard, putting some tracks underneath for streamers to use. For those of you who don't know, we use StreamYard. We're not sponsored by them. They just make things very easy for us. And they have a couple little
new features.
Tracks. Okay, a couple new features that we're messing around with. Hey, what's going on? I haven't done this in like a few weeks now. Hey, how's it going? I'm Jay from Out of Depth. This is Gail.
Hi.
I should introduce her in just a second because the introduction is we are Out of Depth, and tonight is a special night. It's a special for Gail because this is her first live stream. We're streaming live on Twitch and on YouTube. Right?
Yeah.
I did it like twice, I think. It's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. Tonight is also a special night because you and I are going to discuss how the Out of Depth is going. I keep pointing up because the title is up here, Out of Depth, our company, in which we are trying to promote and create stories, engage with people through storytelling. One of those ways that we do that is through an actual play podcast called Out of Depth Plays, which we just finished up the first season, which was amazing. I had a lot of fun. We'll talk about that more later. Tonight is also very special because we're going to discuss kind of the past, the present, and the future. The future being season 2 of Out of Depth Plays. Specifically, what system are we going to play? We're going to announce that later in a little bit. I'm going to make you wait for it. I'm going to make you work for it. 5 people that are going to watch this video. How you doing?
Me?
We haven't like spoken much today.
I know.
For those watching, we're married, and we are in the same house.
Yes.
And yet, sometimes it feels like we could go many hours without checking in with one another. And I'm here for you, Gail. We had a pretty cool weekend, right?
We did have a good weekend. So it's Monday, and
today is Monday live.
Today is Monday, and we always have a Friday night date night.
We do.
It was inspired over the pandemic when we didn't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
Where we would watch The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs on Shudder. And it was
for
great.
Those of you who don't know Joe Bob Briggs was originally on TBS, TNT, the movie channel, where he would host movies. He was a movie host on cable television. And for The Last Drive-In, available on Shudder, the new season of which just premiered this last weekend. He puts on a double feature and comments during the movies during the commercial breaks, but there's no commercial breaks. It's just
on
time
streaming,
for him to talk about it on streaming. It's fantastic. And Gail and I watched it every weekend for date night.
Yeah,
it was
that
awesome.
it would come on. And when, it's a double feature. It's horror movies, which I always hated growing up. And even
I broke her down.
You broke me down, but still, I would say Joe Bob did a lot more breaking down. You would have me watch horror movies, but there was still quite a bit where I was like, I can't do that, or we're not watching that one, or we're watching that one during the daytime. And I was such a I was such a wuss. And but Joe Bob, because he comes in and he's so much fun, and he kind of interrupts the tension. Like, he lets the tension release. Like, lets you get to the scaredy part, but then he comes in just enough to say, well, let's just talk about that murder that we just saw. Let's just talk about that hack and slash that just happened. And he's so great. And then after that, we decided to, whenever the season wasn't playing, we didn't have anything to do on Friday nights. And it was the pandemic, no place to go. Everything's closed. So we started doing our own double features. We would take turns choosing 2 films with a theme. We each do a little bit of research, some weeks more than others, depending on how busy we were, and also commenting with little bits of trivia and stuff about the director and the production studio and cast members and stuff. Everything from really sappy romances to really avant-garde jolly films, and a little bit of everything. So date night was fun. Yeah. Date night kicked it off with Joe Bob's 100th episode of The Last Drive-In, and he did Night of the Living Dead, which is just a solid movie altogether.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
But probably more important than the movie was the fact that he had Chicago's own Sven
Gulli. Oh, and Sven was our date night when we moved to Chicago. We were utterly penniless and couldn't afford to go do anything. And so Saturday night was play board games and watch Sven Gulli, who it was also a horror late night horror host, but it was usually like the Universal and like less boobs and blood than the Joe Bob.
More like 1950s science horror.
Yeah,
40s, like I was a teenage werewolf kind of stuff. Every once in a while, he'd have the Universal movies. But he's a Chicago guy, and as soon as I saw him, I was like, I feel like I'm at home. And I really do think he was the guy that made me go like, this is where I want to live for the rest of my life. Like I have found the Garden of Eden. Yeah. And it is managed by Sven Gulli.
Yeah. Thank you, Joe Bob Briggs, for getting us through the pandemic. Thank you, Sven Gulli, for getting us through some really, really penniless years.
Yeah, those were rough days. But they were awesome. They were awesome experiences.
Yeah.
Stressful ones at the time, but looking back, I feel really positive about it. Yeah. Speaking of feeling really positive, I feel really happy, segue, about Hackway Heights and how Hackway Heights went.
Yes.
For those of you who will end up watching this because you hear about the role-playing game that we're going to be playing for the new season. The first season of Out of Depth Plays, we played a game called Electric Bastionland RPG. And with that, we told a story in a setting called Hackway Heights that I invented. And it was 12 episodes, 12 sessions. We just wrapped that up, I want to say 3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was very sad. I got very choked up when we finished. And I was, it's been a weird hole in our schedule where we're not recording the show anymore. And it's over. And it's like my two friends, David and Nathan, who were also in the show with us.
Thank you, David and Nathan. You all were great.
You guys were awesome. But like getting to see them, we've only really hung out with them once since we finished the show. And I think we all just kind of still had that energy of like, we want to play more. We want to do more stuff, you know?
Yeah.
How did you feel Hackway Heights went?
I thought it went really well. I mean, it definitely had the energy of a role-playing game, the chaos of an RPG, of a role-playing game, where when you're throwing dice in there, anything goes. You know, when it's improvised and not scripted and not sculpted into the framework of a great novel or great film, you get chaos. And that is something I really enjoy about, I think that's something everybody enjoys about role-playing games. It's actually a little more lifelike than
a little bit.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, crazy stuff happens, and it happens all the time, and so it's kind of almost a relief to see the chaos happen. Like, there's yay!
Chaos. Yeah,
not just deals with crazy every day.
Right. There's the chaos of the other players and what they bring to the table.
Yeah.
There's the chaos of the dice rolls.
Yeah.
And to me, I don't think either of us were really sure exactly what this was going to be when we started it, this being our first podcast, our first actual play podcast I had a vision in my head of what I wanted to do to it, but I didn't know how it was necessarily going to work out when we started. Even when we started recording, I was like, I think I know. I didn't really figure it out until I started editing it down, and I was like, I think this is what I want to do with the show. But to me, it feels, I don't know if you felt this way, but it felt a little less like a game that we were playing with our friends that we would normally play on the weekend, and it felt a little bit more like an improv show. Yeah. That just had different rules.
Yeah.
You know, like the
and
rules.
As somebody who doesn't improvise or has not improvised a lot or didn't do much improvisation in my lifetime, it was nerve-wracking. There's just all this, what's the right decision? And like life, there is no right decision. It is just the decision you're gonna make, and that's where you're gonna go. So it was a lot of fun. I really appreciate that I really appreciated Electric Bastionland as the as the RPG that we were playing. It had a lot more of a loose framework. It allowed for that improvisation. It allowed for us to just tell a story together. It allowed, there was a lot of times where we're saying, can I do this? And there's lots of times where you said, yeah, you can. You just do. Yeah. And there was lots of times where you would say, you're going to have to make a roll for that. It was a nice
Sometimes
balance.
It's fun when a player says, hey, can I do this? And instead of making them roll for it, you go, yeah. And now we're going to deal with the consequences of you having done that.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, what's the right decision? It's the decision you make. And everything that happens after is whatever. Yeah.
I'm really proud of how it turned out. I really dug it, man. I think we did a really good job, and it made me when we finished, I was very excited for what we're going to do in the future.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else do we want to talk about tonight?
Can we turn down the music just a little bit?
Hell yeah.
Thank you. It's just enough in my ears that I'm like, I'm getting distracted.
Let's try a different one. You said you like feeding the ducks. The track Feeding the Ducks.
I guess it makes sense. The mascot for StreamYard is a duck, right?
Is it? It is.
I think so.
It is. Do you think that's what they call the user base? Like privately among themselves?
We have to think about our ducklings.
Ooh.
I don't know.
I hope not.
I hope not.
I regret this. I regret this train of thought immediately. I was just goofing, and then duckling showed up, and I was like, I hit reverse right now.
Back up.
No, there.
And what were we going to talk about, Jay?
What were we going to talk about next? We were going to talk about, so Hackway Heights went really well. I think we wanted to talk about the kind of what we're doing and what we want to continue doing. The Patreon is always there for those of you who are listening to this. We have a Patreon. Of course we do. Just like everybody else has one. We are moving certain things to the Patreon. We're creating stuff there. One of the elements that we just put on the Patreon was the Q&A. We had a Q&A after Hackway Heights between the cast, where we all kind of asked each other. We came in there with 3 questions, and we all asked each other those questions to see like little secrets that we had. Some secrets were revealed. That video is for patrons only, and we're going to do the same for a second season. I think that's how we're going to provide some kind of reward for people who subscribe, whoever those people will be.
So I think something we talked about is that we have a couple goals with Out of Depth. One is to tell stories, and 2 is to help get others into telling stories, whatever way that is. And we do feel like role-playing games is a great gateway into that, a great way to find time to and find ways to tell stories with your friends. And so we will be sharing how we're doing this stuff. Like you've shared a lot of resources with how to run a Bastionland, given people a lot of places to go, given a lot of people information. So that won't be behind a paywall. What will be, but we do want to give an extra thank you to our patrons. So those little extras are going to be like the insights of what were we thinking when we did this? What were we thinking? It'll, let's see, what was one of the questions that was answered that I think we answered what was something that all of us thought was going to come up but never did, or what was something that you thought you were going to do but you didn't. And so I mean, there's different little motivations in there, and also like where do we think the characters are going from there. And I am interested to know if people were so excited about these characters and where they were going that they are interested in what happens to them next. Please email Get Out of Depth.
I mean, also I'm sure, like, more importantly, I think you all at the end of it were like, can we keep going? At some point, can we come back to these characters and play with them? And I think maybe we will. That might be something that we do privately, or maybe we're able to do it and record it for another season. I don't think we're averse to coming back and revisiting systems or even stories if we feel like we can tell more.
Yeah.
And this first season was so fun that and I already missed those characters so much. And I think by the time it was over, we just had so many more ideas about what could happen next for those people that I think it's kind of inevitable that we come back to them at some point.
Yeah. It was a great ending to that. Like, I know that ended an arc for my character Sally. That, and it kicked off a whole new phase of her life and where she's going. But I am interested. I'm like, so what does she do next? So it was a great ending. But there is a question of like, so what is next? Like, these characters changed so much in this story. What do they look like afterwards? Yeah. So I think all of us just really got excited about that idea.
Yeah. In addition to that kind of stuff, we're also looking at what other ways that we can express ourselves, what other different outlets that we can go through to talk about and explore stories, to make new stories. I mean, I love to write. The concept of writing short stories, of writing new stuff that isn't necessarily an actual play podcast or a regular podcast, stuff that is just stories. I think you and I both have like a lot of stories that we want to tell.
Yeah.
And we just enjoy doing it. And something that you've kind of become a little bit more passionate about in the last few years is anime. And you've expressed a desire to write about awesome anime that you watch, which I think is a fantastic idea.
So I am gonna be, I feel odd being just this utterly vanilla mom writing about anime, but at the same time, like, anime was such a growing up in small town Kentucky was such a foreign entity to me.
Literally foreign.
But it's so like it was out there somewhere and people enjoyed it, and it was probably never going to be something I had access to. And really wasn't until I got my first job at a movie gallery and it was a huge movie gallery where it was a warehouse of VHS tapes, where we had our own section of anime. And I was like, oh, I had no idea that you could rent anime. Like, I didn't know that people distributed it, that I could get access to it. So and at the same time, again, like looking at the stuff, I was like, well, some of this looks really dystopian and not like it's fun and very cyberpunk, and like I don't know if it's like after a hard grind on the week, it doesn't seem like something that would be extremely enjoyable and peppy and fun. But that isn't the case, and I mean sometimes it is, but really what I look forward to talking about is just how much I love the experimentation that's happening in anime. Being the genre it is, being what it is, has allowed for a lot of just putting out art in whatever format it is in and seeing who likes it or not. And nobody likes that. Cool. Next piece of art. Next
they
story.
Gave it a shot. They gave it a shot.
Like they just kind of chug it out and see what resonates with people. And I feel like in the Western world, there's so much minute detailing of a film, of a TV show, and it has to have a political agenda. It has to have, it's just so sculpted and not just lived, not just created. There's just too much structure around it. I will probably talk about animes that maybe need a little more structure around them, but I do feel like it's a great genre for experimenting. That's something that you've always loved about horror movies, is that a lot of new filmmakers really got their teeth cut on horror movies, just really being able to experiment with dramatic lighting and dramatic scenes and telling a story with the camera. And making the audience thinking something is there when maybe there isn't, or maybe there is something there, and I feel like anime has really become that as well. It's definitely become an experimental genre of just letting artists just create whatever is in their hands and mind and bodies and just let it come out on a page and onto a screen. And I'm sure that there are times when they go, oh, that's not what I was going for. Let's try something else. And so you actually also see a lot of anime that are really similar. And it's almost like somebody said, oh, I like that, but I wish it was just a little bit like this. And so you actually kind of get to watch the creative editing process, So, I've got, I'll be having some blog posts on different anime themes, or technically my journey with anime a bit, as just a person who never thought that they would actually like anime, who's just become very very gung-ho, and like we finished watching Zombieland Saga season 1, and it's been on my mind all night. Like I got all choked up. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm crying about, but it's just so beautiful. And it's Zombieland Saga. It's about a guy raises a bunch of girls from the dead as zombies so that they can be an idol group to save the Saga prefecture in Japan. And it's ridiculous and fun and just so touching somehow.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
What I was going to say like 5 minutes ago was that with horror movies you kind of let the id go wild.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's kind of like an unapologetic nature to it, like we just go because it's horror movies. And anime feels like it's very much has a little bit of that, because you can kind of see like the person's making it, their kind of wish fulfillment or their fantasy and stuff, and sometimes it's like that's not very cool, and sometimes it's like I totally relate, I totally get it. And I think that's what I enjoy about it, is that, like, I don't know, we can watch a story about some guy having a squad of zombie music idols and have a great time watching it.
Have a great time.
You know what I mean? Like, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to what you're going to write about it. Your kind of journey with anime. It's going to be very nice, I think. And I think, you know what? I think we need different perspectives on it, you know? I think we need weird vanilla mom.
Yeah. In fact, I think that's what I'm going to call it. Vanilla Mom Loves Anime.
Vanilla Mom Loves Anime, right here on Out of Depth.
On Out of Depth.
That sounds fantastic. Let's put that in the let's run that by the PR department and see what they think. And
she says yes because
that's you.
Because
that's you. Sounds good. All right. So you're going to be doing that. While you're doing that, I have been and will continue to be writing my ass off for this world building project that we've started on World Anvil, and it just went live today, and I wanted to share the debut and then explain what the hell it actually is, because I've been trying to figure out how to explain to people what I'm doing, and like nothing makes any sense, at least not in sentences that I can write. But let me share the screen here. I'll come out of the overlay. Yeah, so this is Waves Beyond Limit. This is our World Anvil world, our universe. I decided that I wanted to make a World Anvil page. World Anvil is a website where you do world building. It's kind of like creating Wikipedia articles and timelines and just like that meaty lore stuff, the kind of stuff that a character would talk about in exposition during an episode of Game of Thrones, that you're like, I don't care about this, but somebody cares about this. That's what this is. Right, Gail? And I wanted to kind of develop a universe for some of the stories I wanted to tell. And I wanted to give that access to audience members and readers, this kind of repository for weird, deep information that may not matter to my players. It may not matter to a lot of people, but it's kind of a cool place where you can dig deep and learn about stuff that's happening in the universe where some of our stories are going to take place, including our next season of our podcast, Out of Depth Plays, is going to take place in this world.
Because Electric Bastion Land took place in Bastion, Chris McDowell's world. It's very much its own world.
Yeah, it's like Chris McDowell, the guy who made Electric Bastion Land. The idea is it takes place in this urban city called Bastion, and
a huge sprawl that you made Hackway Heights, the specific borough in the city. But this is completely yours, Jay.
Yeah. This is. And it's going to be much bigger. Like in my head, it's much bigger than just like Earth. It's going to be something that expands to different genres and different ideas, kind of almost like alternate universes and stuff. So it's something that I plan on working on for a very long time and continuing to build off of. So it's a work in progress right now, and there's not a ton of articles, but I'm just going to continue chipping away at this every week, and this is just another way that we can kind of engage and express our stories and our ideas. And people who are going to be listening to next season will be able to come here and learn about like some of the companies that are involved, some of the world ideas and concepts that are involved with the series.
I guess before the history before we go into this season. Yeah.
I guess we should go ahead and say what we're doing, right? Like, is it time to do that?
It is.
All right. So for season 2 of Out of Depth Plays, we are going to be playing. I'm so fucking excited. We're going to be playing Mothership RPG, the science fiction horror role-playing game by Tuesday Night Games, Tuesday Night with a K games. It is a game that I've been playing for a couple years now. They just had recently a very successful Kickstarter for their first edition. I've been playing their zero kind of beta edition for a couple years at conventions and for my friends like Gail and David and Nathan from Hackaway Heights, and I've got to play it with like a bunch of strangers at conventions. It's so fun.
Lots of virtual conventions
right, yeah.
Over the pandemic, yeah.
Which I got into during the pandemic, exactly. Like, but I have, I just really enjoy this game. So when you look at the World Anvil pages, you'll be able to learn about some of the companies and some of the major players in the world that our team in the Mothership game are going to be dealing with. The name of which we're also going to reveal the title and the cover art on the podcast. We are going to be the title of the game is Analysis Complete. I like that, man. That looks great.
Yeah. So he's told us that the name is, he's told our team of players that the name is Analysis Complete. And meanwhile, I keep wondering what analysis is complete. What is it that we're analyzing that's going to kill us?
I probably will. I probably will.
Yes.
Yeah. Mothership is a little deadly, a lot deadly. And we've played it a lot. And I think a lot of people have the assumption, the impression that Mothership is kind of a one-shot game. Like you just have like a terrible, crazy time for a session, maybe 2 sessions, if you're playing in short session chunks. And then that's the end of that. And so we're going to see if we can stretch that out to 12 episodes. It's totally possible that the characters that we start with are not the characters that we end with. And if they all die, I'm going to have to... This may become an anthology show of different Mothership adventures. I don't know. But I do have a story that I'm hoping to try and tell over 12 episodes. I'm hoping to see you guys engage with it in some way. And the premise of the show is that the cast, which I should mention the cast of the show, we're bringing Gail back. Gail's going to be back on it. She's going to be playing a character that we're going to introduce later. David, who played Nesbitt in Hackaway Heights, is going to be returning. And then we have a new friend of the show who's going to be performing with us, Reedon, who has a Twitch channel, Toffee Plays, I think it is. I saw him play in a different Mothership actual play and just thought, like, this guy could play with us. This guy could work with us. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah.
And after one conversation, I was absolutely certain, like, this is going to work out just fine.
Yeah.
So we've been wanting to branch out, talk to new people, play with new people out there who want to explore this art form, the kind of improvised actual play role-playing game art form. And he's somebody that I was just like, let's try that guy, and we're going to continue looking for more and more people to bring onto the show. We're sorry that Nathan, who played Tremolo in Hackaway Heights, couldn't join us, but he's super busy moving to a faraway place.
Yeah.
And hopefully once he's settled down,
we might play some more.
We might be able to play with him again.
Yeah.
But yeah, for right now, we got a banger of a cast, and we've already created our characters. We've already recorded that session, and we're recording the very first session next Tuesday, the 10th.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe 2 weeks from there, the first episode will be released for consumption.
Yeah.
And,
so mid to late May.
Yeah.
First episode.
For sure. Yeah. First episode will come out this month. I'm psyched. I'm psyched. So people can go ahead and start getting, if they want to, if they're into that kind of thing, they can get a little primer on the universe by going to the World Anvil page. There will be links in the descriptions and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You've already. That's why we're a team.
Yes. So yeah, if it'll be in the description, which is probably going to be easier. But if somebody is right now wanting to go, it's www.worldanvil.com/w/waves beyond the limit JDNC.
We need a Bitly or something.
I know we do need a Bitly.
Shrink it down.
Shrink that down. But
you can also go to our socials.
So
I'm after I'm done with this, I'm going to be tweeting out all that stuff. Yeah, how do you feel about playing Mothership? Get the audience hyped about how much you love.
I really do. So we talked about Mothership. Jake actually gets invited to conventions at this point to run Mothership, and because I think it's one, your love of horror is so great. I feel like you really understand the way to build dread and build just creepy factor and all of that. And I think it's just so highly enjoyable. I've played several Mothership games with you, as every single type of character that you can play, and they've all been one shots because everybody pretty much dies at the end. We have had
survives, but is so irrevocably damaged and traumatized from the events that you wouldn't want to play them a second game.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about the idea of trying to survive a little longer, and trying to see if we can actually get this to go. I'm really excited about my character. She is very different from. I'm just gonna say that she's pretty different from Sally. Yeah. So I'm interested, and that's usually how it goes with me. I get into a skin and go, I have to play somebody the opposite of this now. I've been in this skin too long.
Not only is yours different, David's is wildly different than Nesbitt from Hackway Heights.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to see what he does.
Which Nesbitt was so different from David that it's probably going to be. I mean, it's going to be
I don't
not
think
exactly like David, but it's
either.
going to be a little bit more.
I don't know. This is a different spectrum. Like he's.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I'm very excited. We did the character creation stuff. We recorded that, and then afterwards, I sent everybody a questionnaire, and they filled out the questionnaire, and I'll be posting that on the Patreon all the answers to these questions to kind of deepen their character a little bit.
And that's what we did for season 1. If anybody's still interested, all those the questionnaires are for season 1 are out there on Patreon, and then season 2 questionnaires will be out as well for patrons.
Look at us, we're like a professional outlet or something. Like we're churning stuff out there. I love it.
I'm really excited about what you've done with the World Anvil, and it is just basically a Wikipedia for the world. That's the worlds, because it's like a universe, a universe of worlds that we'll be playing in. I'm really excited about it.
I'm gonna have to make like a separate video explaining like what I'm doing, because it's complicated, but I want it to be very. It's a very large scope project that I don't think we'll ever finish. And it'll always be under construction. But I think that's the beauty of it. It's this constant evolving mass.
Yeah.
Well, Gail, we've announced the show. We're playing Mothership role-playing game, science fiction horror, 12 episodes. Analysis Complete is the name of the series.
Mm-hmm.
That's exciting. We've talked about the World Anvil. We talked about anime. We talked about your anime projects that you're working on.
Yeah.
That's exciting. And we talked about, we reminisced a little bit about Hackway Heights and shared a little bit about ourselves. I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was a job well done.
I think we've covered.
We hit all the points.
The State of the Union.
Yeah.
I'm
excited for the future. I'm excited for what we're doing. When we finished that first podcast, I didn't know while I was in it that I would love it so much. And then when I was done, I could not wait to get started on the next one.
Yeah.
And I'm so, like, now that we've had a few weeks off, I am so ready to record the first, come on, guy, the first episode, and to start laying some surprises on you guys.
I know. Just like the first one where we're season 1, episode 1, we're immediately in the action, immediately getting shot at, and bombs going off and everything.
This is gonna be good. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
And I do want to say something else I'm really excited about is Mothership is a little more complex in playing. I really feel like Bastion Land was definitely a very stripped down RPG as far as integrating tools to integrating dice into just telling a story. And Mothership is just slightly more complicated, but really it isn't. It's just a few more numbers, like a few more things to reference, really. But it's so easy to make a character. It's so easy to play.
There's a little bit more math, a little bit more dice.
Yeah, and it's mostly just because it makes it's making you roll a little bit more, so to see if you fail, to see if you trip and fall and the killer comes and hops on you.
We'll see.
But it's great. I think it's definitely a great next season after such a great season with Bastion Land. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. All right, Gail, that is that. We've wrapped up this little State of the Union Waterlogged. I don't know. I made that title up.
I like it.
Waterlogged with Jae and Gail. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you want to learn more about us, you can go to getoutofdepth.com, where we have some blog posts and all the episodes of the shows that we're putting up. You can also check us out at the patreon.com/getoutofdepth. And then Get Out of Depth is, I think, the handle for all of our social media stuff. If you're into that kind of thing, we're not super into it. Shoot me an email. I'm not hard to find. For Gail, the lovely Gail, thank you for joining us, Gail. As the sun has set and night has fallen, we bid you all adieu.